Hello and welcome to Mrs. Seeley's math video number 17. In this video, I'm going to review the correct answers for your Unit 7 math test, your last math test of the year. Hooray! So here we go. First question was, which method of data collection would you use to answer the following questions? So the three methods listed here, survey means that you would ask people and get their responses. Database means that it is saved somewhere as information. To access the database, you probably want to do an internet search. An experiment means you actually have to carry out some sort of experiment you designed to find out the answer to this question. So for the first one, how has population changed in Africa over 10 years? That is something you'd have to research on the internet. So that means choose database for that one. For the next question, how many times can you clap your hands in 1 minute? That is something you'd actually physically have to do and then time yourself, so that's an experiment. For which fun activity should we choose for our class year-end party? That's something we want to ask the students in our class to find out, so that should be a survey. For who text messages the most in Canada, boys or girls? That's something we need to research online, so we click database. And finally, how large are Canada's national parks in hectares? That is something we'd research online. We choose database. Okay, question number 2. It says, during which month did the elephant gain, not have, but gain the most mass? So in a line graph like this, when it gains the most mass, it means it's going to be the steepest section of the graph. It's going to make the biggest change will show a steep section, and then the least change between months will be the flattest section of the graph. So when you look at birth to 1 month, that's this section here. 3 to 4 months is here. 5 to 6 months is here. And 7 to 8 months here. You can clearly see that between 5 and 6 months is the steepest section of the graph. So that means it has the biggest change in numbers. We should select 5 to 6 months for that question. Question 3 says, during which month did the elephant gain or not have, but gain the least mass? So for this question, we're looking for the flattest part of the section. So our choices are birth to 1 month. That's a little bit steeper than 1 to 2 months. 1 to 2 months is a little bit flatter. We go up to 8 to 9 months. That looks similar. And 11 to 12 months. That looks like the flattest section of the graph to me, 11 to 12 months. Okay, question number 4. You want to track the growth of your puppy over a 1-year period so you can graph his weight gain. How would you collect your data? Best answer for this is to carry out an experiment and weigh him once a month and record the data. Question number 5. Which type of graph would be best to show the time it took you to travel to Banff, showing time and distance? Your choices are bar, pictograph, double bar, line, series of points. You have to think, is this continuous or discrete data? This is continuous because you can have decimals of time and decimals of distance, and they are connected data. Where you are at this point in time is connected to where you are at this point of time. There should be a line between those 2 points. So line graph is the best selection for this one. Question number 6, which type of graph could you use to show the number of fire hydrants in Shaughnessy, Bridlewood, Evergreen, Millrise, and Somerset? This is not continuous data. This is discrete data. So there can be a couple different answers. You could choose series of points. You could choose bar graph, or you could choose pictograph. All 3 of those types of graphs show one set of discrete data. So I'll just pick the first option that is correct, series of points, but there were other correct answers for that. Question number 7, which type of graph could you use to show how the boys and girls differ in their choice of favorite ice cream? Boys and girls are 2 sets of data. That means that it needs to be represented in a double bar graph. You've got 1 bar showing the boys' preferences and 1 bar showing the girls' preferences. Question number 8 says, which type of graph could you use to show the volume of milk in a glass as it is filled? You think, is that discrete or continuous data? It is continuous data because as the milk fills, the glass increases, and volume of milk, milliliters, liters, can be measured in decimals. So this is best shown in a line graph because that is the one option out of these options that can represent continuous data. Okay, question number 9, discrete or continuous data. Discrete, remember it's measured in whole numbers and it's not connected. Continuous data can be measured in decimals and the points are connected to each other. The distance traveled by the mail carrier can be measured in decimals, that's continuous. The mass of a panda cub over the month of May can be measured in decimals, so continuous. The number of hockey games won by the Calgary Flames can only be measured in whole numbers, so that's discrete. The number of bags of popcorn sold at the cinema, only whole numbers, that's discrete. And the temperature outside your house between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., that can be in decimals, so that is continuous data. Okay, question number 10. This table shows the number of people living in Red Deer, Alberta from 2002 to 2007. Which information goes on the x-axis and which goes on the y? So I've always said that the first column that you see, whether it's along the top or it's along the left-hand side, that has to go on the x-axis. So year should be on x-axis. That is this selection right here. Okay, if the first one goes along the bottom, the horizontal axis, then the second column you see should go along the side, the vertical axis. Okay, question 11. This table shows the number of people living in Red Deer. Okay, so same thing. It asks you which scale to use. You have to notice that your population of people doesn't start until 70,000 and something. And then it grows steadily by a couple thousand each time. Okay, so this was a question testing to know whether you knew to break the grid, skip from 0 to the number that you should start at, and then go up by a smaller number. That is described by this selection here. You have to start your axis at 0, skip to 70,000 so that you don't waste all of those grid marks, and then you can go up by 1,000 each time and be able to put all these numbers on there. So it was the third selection is the correct answer for that one. Okay, question number 12. According to the graph below, on which day were there 4 times as many library books returned as on Friday? Okay, so you look at Friday, you go across, it's about halfway in between 0 and 10. So I'm going to record that information. Friday looks like it's about 5 books. Okay, so if I'm looking for a day where it has twice as many as Friday, I'm looking for one that has 10. And I do not see one with 10, so I need to go back and look at the question again. According to the graph below, on which day were there 4 times as many? Okay, I read the question wrong. So 4 times 5 is 20. I am looking for that day where there are 20 books. Is it frozen? Oh, well. The one that it lines up with 20 is Thursday. Along the top of the Thursday bar lines up with 20, so I select that one. Okay, question 13. How many students owned at least 1 CD but fewer than 4 CDs? Okay, so that means you don't include the student that has 0 because they don't own at least 1. And you don't include the student that has 4 because it says they have to be less than 4. So you count all of these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You check the legend. 1 strange child's head is equal to 1 student. So it should be 9 students have at least 1 but less than 4. Okay, question 14. According to the graph, how many times between 6 a.m., this time right here, and 12 12 noon, this time right here, did the humidity measure exactly 30%, which is this line right here. So basically you have to count how many times the dark line crosses the 30 line. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4 times that that line crosses over the 30% line. So you select 4. Okay, question 15. According to the graph below, how many meters was Maya from the finish line when Sasha completed the race? So I want to find when Sasha completed the race. She is the open square, and it shows that she completed the race at the time of 40 seconds when she was at 50 meters. At 40 seconds, I follow it down to find where Maya was. At 40 seconds, Maya was at 40 meters. So if it's a 50-meter race and Maya's at 40 meters, that means she is 10 meters away from the finish line. I should select this answer. Question 16. The greatest population increase in Boomtown occurred between which of these years? So 95 and 96, there's a big gap right here. That seems like a likely answer, but let me check the other ones. 2004 and 5, not a very big gap between those two bars. 03 and 04, again, not very big. And 2000 and 2001, bigger, but definitely not as big as my first option between 95 and 96. That's the correct answer. Okay, question 17. If there is a total of 30 fish in the tank, then how many fish does each icon or picture in the pictograph represent? Okay, so first I'm going to count how many pictures in the pictograph, or how many fish, total fish. So for Carlos, there's 1.5. When I add that to Sally, that makes 4 total. 1, 2, 3 wholes plus 2 halves, 4 total. Then 5, 6, 7.5. 7.5 is the number of fishes that there are, icons I mean, and 30 is the number of fish that that represents. So I'm just looking for a scale factor of what I need to multiply 7.5 by to get 30. Okay, I could also, let's try 3. 7.5 times 3, and what do I get? 22.5 is what I get when I multiply 7.5 times 3. I can tell that that is exactly 7.5 away from 30, so it must be 4 times that I need to multiply 7.5. I'm just going to double check. Times it by 4. 7.5 times 4 is 30 exactly. So that means that each fish icon represents 4 fish. And when you have a half fish icon, that would only be 2 fish. Okay, question 18. What is a bias survey question? Correct answer is a question that influences a person's answer. I'm going to pause this video here and come back in the next one for the rest of the test.